I guess there could be some people that listened to the radio show just now. We are live now. Welcome.
Hi.
Let me see who I've got here. Please say hello if you're here waiting, and welcome. Welcome to a special live with myself, Kendall, and Goff here.
Hi.
I'm just going to give it a minute while we let some people come in. Nice. How did you like the radio show?
Yeah, it went very well actually. I think
Nice.
we always work well together when we speak
I think
together.
so. Not in private, but in public. In private we are
Yeah.
all sorts, but
Well,
in public we're
I
quite well
used to
behaved.
find we had problems emailing one another. We tend to get the wrong point. Probably me and not being very good at emailing.
I'm not sure. I did know that, I won't go into this here, but you and other people didn't know how much I was going through
No.
in
I
general.
agree.
So
Yeah.
that's a difficult thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got hello from Carol there, and hello from Claire. Claire also watched the live just earlier.
Right.
Don't know if you did as well, Carol, but nice to see you. I hope that you guys are all okay. I don't know where everybody is. I guess they'll join in a bit, so YouTube will go ping, ping, Kendall's live, Kendall's live. So we just had a radio show on BBC Radio Solent. I'm in the UK right now. I'm not in the UK for much longer, actually. I'll be leaving on Tuesday, but I'm in 4 cities until then, which is a little bit exhausting. I'll try and make it work. Hello, Lauren. Is the sound quality okay, everybody? And are you okay with the picture and signal quality? Please give me some thumbs up and things. And you're with us for a nice little while, to Goff's delight, because he loves to chat, and we've got stories to tell you. But basically, we've become authors and co-authors. Yes, we've become authors. Not many people knew that I was helping Goff here to write a book while I was in Japan. So I was somehow trying to squeeze that into things while doing the 4 other jobs I was doing, which was a bit much. Luckily, I don't have 4 anymore. Hi, Stephanie. Nice to see you. So we've got 5 with us right now, and more might come eventually. This is Goff Gleadle. His father was Lawrence Gleadle, and about 85, 90 now, years ago.
Oh, long time.
90 years ago.
Yes.
90 years ago, he was an incredible artist. At the time, Goff didn't even know that. So he would create the big heads. So basically, he was the big head man. He would create the larger than life scale drawings of famous actors, so celebrities of the day, so the kind of golden age of film, lots of wonderful actors. And we'll get a little bit more onto that in a moment. Let me just double check what I've got here. You guys might have questions. I think your father probably realised you would preserve the posters for the future. There are some interesting stories around that. One is my favourite, and I think you might miss it, so I'll add it in when I find a point. Because as an artist, I've got lots of ideas about Goff's father that don't necessarily come to Goff's mind. So we've really thought outside of the box and learned each other's way of thinking and lots of different parts of the story. So please join us while we tell you what happened and when. And actually, I'm just going to let Goff do a lot of the speaking while I show you some examples of the posters, and I'll just do 2 more minutes of explaining what's going on here. But for example, this is a collection of 4 different posters. I won't cover your face, Goff. And they've been put together in a compilation to make a new print. So I'll be showing you things like this and other ones where I've also digitally edited them to remove things. So I'm going to show you greetings cards and posters in the background. But basically, the reason I'm here, you're probably thinking, it's not your father, Kendall. What's the big deal? This isn't your real grandpa, is it? Is it? You look kind of similar. Could it be? I'm his honorary granddaughter, but we're not blood related. So basically, you guys might not have known this about me, but I can do digital design work. And so all of the posters were absolutely giant. I'll let Goff tell you more about that. But they were folded into many pieces because these days we roll everything. But way back then, some 100 years ago, they used to fold really big film and cinema posters. So along those crease lines over time, paper, especially paper, weighed down with the weight of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers of thick waxy paint. it would start to decay really quickly. And so especially along those fold lines, there's a lot of damage. And the fact that goes straight through someone's eyes kind of makes the poster become a bit grotesque, right?
I mean, I think that probably also was that before my time, my father would often open them and look at them, show them to friends and family, and so each time you open and close it, more damage.
And basically every time we did that, we were risking everything, weren't we? We were risking them even being torn in half, and some were at a point of being torn in half. Like, they became quite feathery. I don't know if you've ever left a plastic bag in a drawer for a couple of decades, but it starts to change a little bit. We've all got a drawer like that in our houses. If you guys have kitchens, I don't really, living in Japan. So let me see what's going on. Yes, Claire has hit on something perfectly. She says, I think Goff's father must have been a modest man. And we just had a radio show on BBC Radio Solent, and they were asking, why didn't your father tell you about these? And there is a degree of modesty that comes with generations much, much older than ours. And other cultures, like in Japan, they're very modest.
Yeah, and also I think, it might have been my father's situation, because as an artist before the war, it was quite well off. It was status. And in the war, he was called up.
Pride.
And afterwards, eventually he became a bus driver. So they didn't talk about the past very much at all.
And I had another idea. If you remember, I hit on something else entirely. I said that we think it's amazing, like glorious big pictures, but for him, it was just his job.
That's right.
Like, I wouldn't talk about working at Tesco, not too much, because it's just my job.
Yeah.
For him, it was just his job.
Following that, later in life, he took up painting again, but watercolours, and of local scenery and things like that around where he lived. But people asked him to draw for them. Would you do my cottage? And he never quite said no, but he never did it. And I always thought that he regarded those as his work. Yeah. And he wanted to keep, and the family keep. But as Kendall said, the posters,
that's just a job.
Were a job that somebody else told him to do,
So it was either I don't know who's watching from other countries, because I know that some of you follow me from things like Heygo or just YouTube in general, or Instagram and other things. I don't want to lose what I was saying. But do you know the phrase, a busman's holiday? Right? So in English, British English in particular, we have a phrase, a busman's holiday. So if you're a bus driver all week, all day, and then at the weekend you have to drive your family to places, it's not really a holiday, is it? So probably trying to relax by doing things on demand again, or maybe for money was too much. And one of my favourite little stories is when you said he was joining the local amateur painting club, and he kept winning all the competitions. So he respectfully removed himself from the running line. So I'm going to pass you over to Goff right now, but I'll just say, so I'm MissKendalJames. Please look for the things that I do online as MissKendalJames. So linktr.ee/MissKendalJames, and I think my Buy Me a Coffee link is pinned to this chat. So please feel free to click on that and contribute towards my time, if you like, our time. I've got the cinemas, probably put posters up like wallpaper. Not like wallpaper, Claire. These were used as advertisements. Some of them were even long strips, we believe, for either side of the doorways. And some of them even for billboards. Like, we've got a 4-foot by 6-foot piece of something that must have been like 12 or 16 or 18 foot. It must have been so tall. I'm going to pass it to you. Start the story wherever you like. I never let you do that. So start the story wherever you like, and I'm just going to show some things in the background, okay, without blocking you out with any luck.
Okay, so my father was a lithographic artist in the 1920s and 30s. He actually started as an apprentice artist at the age of 16 on a 5-year apprenticeship, starting, would you believe, at 12 shillings a week. But that was quite...
That's English money, right?
Yeah.
You might have to...
But, it doesn't seem much now, but it was something then. And he worked his way through, he was an artist, and he worked his way through the system. So in the end, he became the big head man, because several artists would work on a poster. As we said there, something like 5 foot by 4 foot or even bigger.
And this is that typography people, right?
Yeah, and they would have to draw them on a great stone slab that size with a crayon. And then they would be then printed off in monochrome, which we also have. Yeah. And then passed to another big machine where they would add the first colour, yellow, another machine, blue, another colour, red, till he got the final poster. And say he became the big head man, so that he was the highest skilled. But in the wartime, he was called up and drove a lorry for the Ministry of War. And he never went back, probably because the system was changing. That was, as I've just told you, huge machines, intensive labour at every stage. After the war, they were starting to go into photography and things like that. So there was no place for him anymore. He was not an independent artist, he was just an employee. So there was no place for him anymore. So he finished up first as a lorry driver and then as a bus driver.
Just one job after the other.
But I knew nothing. I was born in 1942, and growing up I just knew him as a bus driver. He kept some of these posters, but I didn't know that, and probably because that generation didn't speak much of the past, and I knew very little about their past life, and nothing at all of the existence of the posters. And it wasn't till many years later that my father gave me this dustbin liner full of old papers, and I took them back home. They were huge, as we just said. I had to unfold each one on the double bed, because that was the only space large enough, try and see what it was, put it away, get the next one. And of course...
My favourite story fits in around here.
And of course, by the time you get to the 40s, you forgot what the first was. And there was no computers, well, no PCs in those days. So it was almost impossible to identify them, particularly as they were part posters, like you see, which is...
parts of big billboards.
Yeah, parts of
I had one example of that. Well, this one, yeah, we expect this might have just been two pieces, but here it says, do you remember the name of this one?
It's called Little Old New York.
Little Old New York, so it probably would have been one, two, yeah, it would have been at least two more. It would have been very, very long. My favourite story fits in here because Gough has been the chief researcher. I've been the chief passion reigniter. Every time you're like, oh, it's too much.
But also your technical skills.
And technical, yeah.
Skills came in very much in repairing
and curating the art exhibitions.
Yeah,
we had exhibitions for these as well, so I was already in the community in that way and had the know-how to start an exhibition. I'll say my favourite story and then let's break for the book, and then you can continue a little bit more and answer some questions. My favourite story is that as you started researching more and more and more and more, you discovered nobody was meant to have these.
No.
Because you went to a theatre or a cinema, and basically underneath the floorboards were all these folded up. We don't have them anymore. Gough will explain where they are now, because they're just so valuable, rare and delicate that they need to be in a special museum. So I'll let Gough explain that later. But these papers were being used as carpet lining. And also, during the wartime, you weren't meant to be retaining pieces of paper because the paper needed to be recycled and reused for important things like sharing news. Yeah. So Gough's dad was a little bit naughty, keeping a hold of these. He must have had some kind of fondness. But at the end of the day, if you ever meet a famous person, you're like, oh, can I take a picture? Can I have your autograph? Yeah. Ultimately, he's got records of famous people, which is pretty cool. Right. Really famous people.
I mean, we've got Judy Garland. And,
we've got baby Judy Garland here.
In a film with Mickey Rooney.
Mickey,
Spencer Tracy and Hedy Lamarr, who are on the front cover of the book.
So I've got a keen interest in graphic design and marketing. So I noticed that some of these pieces, I imagine, I've laid it out so that it's visually appealing for people that might like to buy it these days, and it makes sense. No one displays things long. You're good there. No one displays things long, really, unless you live in a Japanese home. But, one second. I think this would have been up here, this bit in the middle, and then this bit here would have said Babes in Broadway, and it would have been nice and long down the side of a cinema. And you've got another thing here.
Well, this is what part of what Kendall's done. She's seen interest in parts of the background and then take them out and made them into which are works of art in themselves.
So you see this nice little detail here, these dancers. I thought that makes a pretty lovely card in itself. So we used to sell these in the UK. Goff still sells them actually, and you will have a way to contact him or me to see if you can purchase them if you want to. It's got our information on the back, and it talks about this project that we've been working on. At first it was called Lost in Time, and then it evolved into being the Big Head Man, which is his father, of course. So yes, my favourite story is that he was holding things he shouldn't have been holding.
That's right.
Like, you probably shouldn't have taken them out of the studio. You probably should have let them be pulped for other things.
Right,
so I quite like that.
Yeah, I mean,
they're a little bit naughty.
The reason they're so rare, almost probably unique, is that there's both the black and white, which you've always seen, which was the first stage.
Yeah, we've got some.
You would
this
have
is a
to
great
been
example.
you would have to been on the spot to take that when it was printed, and afterwards the colour was added, and they were sent out to cinemas. So if any survived at all, they would have been the full colour ones.
Mm-hmm.
So
these
black,
are the rough.
they're
rough
the
drafts.
first one, so you'd have to be on the spot to take them. And so you've got a whole range of posters, first stage, full colour,
Yeah.
at a one printing house, which was a famous printing house. It was the largest poster printing company in England at the time, by one known artist. So that is completely unique.
Yeah, there's just some really amazing things. Now there's some parts, you can probably see, oh, there was that one I had first. Oh, let me find it. Here we go. We've got, oh, I haven't left it here, but here's a lot of OXO ones. And they all had OXO in them, of course, as well as small and big. This one's the Guardsman. But over here we had the end of an O.
He just had L.
L.
And the lady,
so something like the Colonel also likes it. The lady as well.
She had just an S.
Yep, so I wanted to make these saleable products for now. So of course they look really nice with the text in. I'm not denying that. And I like that unfinished quality or that nod to what else was there. But as a standalone finished piece, this looks pretty great, I think. So I've been smart with Photoshop and managed to remove this, but also in keeping some of the hints of the lines that show the age of this anyway, because it doesn't need to be perfectly polished.
The OXO story is a story in itself as well, because we only have the 4 OXO posters. 2 of them...
These ones.
Yeah. There they are. So 2 of them have their slogans on, this one, and you see they're punning. Little Mary would like some more OXO. Cromwell was protection of the Commonwealth, OXO protection of the common health. But we didn't know, we had nothing on these 2, just a bit of an S and a bit of an L. But after an article I wrote, a lady contacted me, and her mother had entered an OXO colouring competition in the 1930s, and she recognised the images. She had passed them on to OXO, I contacted them, they sent me the images. And there they were with a lot more, and now we know that lady's name. The S was for Sheila.
Sheila Dore OXO.
Sheila Dore OXO.
Sheila Dore OXO. Of
And the
course.
other one, and that was I'm a lifeguard like OXO.
Yeah, so Goff especially learned a lot along the way. And for the last year and a half or more, we've been working on a book. So I'm not trying to make this a sales pitch. I was going to make a YouTube video about this story as soon as I got the chance anyway. But it couldn't be really better, could it, with me coming back to the UK, and now we've got a book, a full colour book, written by both of us with an excellent foreword. I'll let you explain it. And it's polished up very, very nicely, and it's incredible full colour inside. We've even been on national TV.
Look at that! I've made a centrefold of a magazine.
A centrefold. I bet you've told your lovely wife Mary. He's a centrefold now. Let's see what's on page 3. No, I'm just kidding. So we've got all kinds of lovely, lovely information telling the whole story here. I'll give you a better look at this after, but you can see things side by side. And one interesting thing is you can see some of the details that I've had to repair. Some are much more minor, like these little bits here. But I expect there's a strong example in here. There are some really fun bits. You can see, of course, this boy from Bernardo's poster was really excellent. But I loved this bit down here enough to decide that it should be its own card. especially because we live in Portsmouth, even though we're not from Portsmouth. And this has really got sailor vibes.
Yeah,
totally,
and you'll
hasn't it?
recognise him again, cheeky. That's Mickey Rooney.
Mickey Rooney, yeah, we've got lots with Mickey Rooney back in his heyday before 1,000 marriages and divorces. We got lots. Yeah, there's full page pictures, monochrome and colour, and it's just really lovely. Freshly printed, so it smells yummy too.
Yeah, you can see some of the fold lines and the damage in some of those, can't you? Like, what was that one?
You found a good one just then.
It was a black and white one, wasn't it? That one, you can see.
Yeah.
You can see
Those ones might not look so bad, but there were other full colour ones where the whole eye had been gouged out.
Yeah.
I tell you, that might not look too bad, but when you've zoomed into that and it's the only thing on your computer screen, it's a bit scary. It's just the eye taken out of the page. I just thought I'd show them the Oxo things here. And here's some example of some colouring pages that were discovered along the way from that other lady as well, right? So we even made our own colouring book. I refined some of it and we had that printed and used.
a little follow-on story here. I sent this lady a copy of the book and asked her what she thought of it. She said, "What can I say? When I read about my mothers and the things," she said, "I was in tears."
Oh,
You didn't know that,
I
did you?
bet she would have been. I bet she would have been, yeah. And my mum doesn't know this is in existence yet. And my mum is already in tears seeing me back from Japan. So, yeah, it's a lovely story. So, what else would you like to add? Please tell us about the wonderful people that helped with this. And where are the posters now?
Well, yes. So we had to give the papers away because they were very badly damaged. I mean, we got them scanned first at the university here. And I tell you, it was frightening because they were the maximum size that the large scale scanner would take.
A0 was the technical maximum size.
Yeah, that must have
But
been
it was
a bit
just
big.
a tiny bit
Yeah.
smaller.
So the maximum size that the machine would take, they were fragile, and we had to be very careful. Sometimes you put a plastic sleeve under them, sometimes cardboard, and occasionally the machine would come across a gap, and it would bulk. And it would throw the poster at a high speed, and we've got,
my goodness.
But we got them, and then from then, Kendall, they put them onto very high quality computer files, so we can.
I asked for the highest quality.
Yeah, so we can write up to the full size with no.
And higher if we really wanted to. It meant it used up a lot of space on the computer, of course, but it's worth it.
And then once we got them. That was the first time I could put them together in a book as A4s and understand exactly what I had. And also Kendall was then able to, as we just said, repair them, take images out.
Yeah.
And things like that.
We would, excuse me, sorry, not very professional here, but yeah, we would sell these at markets and share the story among us, and people would ask if we're related, say no, but we're good friends now. And we have been for a long time anyway. We met each other a long time ago at that garden that I introduced you guys to earlier.
Yes, I did agree.
Yeah, you can carry on. I'll show some more of these as we go through.
So we had to pass them on to someone who could look after them and conserve them. So actually the British Film Institute would have liked them, but they weren't prepared to exhibit them, so they would have just gone into the archives available to students and things. But at Leicester, they hold the cinema and television history archives, along with things like the Norman Wisdom films. So they were prepared to exhibit them. And in fact, some of them are still on show there at the moment. And they also conserve them and then we'll digitise them. But by this time, we worked out this book all along the way, lots of information. I mean, other little stories, like one of the folders has a handwritten note from the time on it. It's at the top, you can see, is that the one? No, not that
Some
one.
have little Metro Goldwyn.
Oh yeah, no,
Myers.
this was a little handwritten note by somebody at the time. And at the top of the thing was a mirror image of words at the bottom. And so what the little line said was, spoil because folded when wet. So somebody folded it while the ink was still wet, and they had to dispose of it, so my father took it. But something like that, a voice from the past, is quite something.
Yeah, it is amazing. And even then, naughty, you've got to wait patiently for things to dry. You know, with Lightroom stuff for photography, even photocopying things now, you've still got to be careful. Newspapers, right. You don't want to touch them. My partner's arrived if you want to say hello.
Oh,
Yoshi's here.
Hi.
There we go. Yeah, wonderful. And so some are still on display now.
Yeah,
in the book, we've got a little example of...
Not only the posters themselves, of course, but in the book is my father's story, how he met how his apprenticeship when he started when he was 16, how he met my mother when she was 16.
What was their song, Goff?
Oh yeah, the artist's room was all male, so she was a kind of copy girl. So when she brings something in and they knew my parents were an item, they'd sing, "And you were the only girl in the world," and that became their theme song, and they were married for 75 years, and they always remembered that. So there's lots, and the book contains their story, the history of the printers, Stafford's in Nottingham, which, as I say, was one of the most important poster printers in the country at the time. The printing process itself, which
Tell us about the marbles.
The stone slabs.
Because it was one of the most famous printing companies.
Yeah.
But what was not good about it?
What do you mean?
The wobbly marbles.
Oh yeah. Well, it was all these posters my father would draw in crayon on these huge stone slabs, and then it would print them off. Monochrome, then the colours added. But after a run of, say, 500, the stones, which were a special
stones were for cleaning, right?
Yeah, they were special Italian marble, and they were lifted up by huge overhead cranes and taken to another room, and they're put on a bed that rocked. So, and then on top of that would put glass marbles, and as the bed rocked, the marbles would rub the print off the ink off the thing. But I came in contact with a lady, like the one who contacted me about the Oxo one, who told me her older brother used to play marbles outside.
So that's a really old-fashioned game, right? Where you kind of shoot one and then everyone has to try and touch theirs.
And marbles in the street.
Yeah.
And so they would climb over, they lived near Stafford, so they would climb over the fence and steal the used marbles from the waste bin. So a cry would go up, "Oh, we're playing marbles today, but no Staffords," because they knew they were very rough.
Yeah, so you've got to have a perfect marble for those.
And we've also included a short history of some of the stars as well, haven't we?
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah,
nice work.
Hedy Lamarr was very intelligent, and during the wartime, she invented a change of wavelength things which could.
Isn't she responsible for creating what began the internet?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So she did this thing which changed the waves to jam torpedoes guidance, and she went to the army, the forces in America, and she said, "I've got this," and they said, "Oh no, we don't want you for that. You're the glamour. We want you to go around and say hello to the stars." But later, as Kendall said, it became the base for mobile phones, for all kinds of things. And she was eventually inaugurated into the American Hall of Fame for that.
Lovely. Nice. Is there anything else you want to add?
I don't.
You'll probably be thinking about it later. I wanted to tell them this. I think they should probably buy the book though.
Yeah, they should. But what I'm saying is, in this book, there's some things which have been known before and printed before about the posters and differently about the printers. But this puts it all together, and these little stories which have not been known before. So this is unique. And Steve Chibnall, the professor, has done a very nice little editorial at the inside there saying, because he has written his own books on he is actually a professor of cinema history.
Okay, so he's very invested.
And he's written his own books on that, on British film history. He puts it in the introduction. He said there have been books which show us the posters that were written, but this is quite different because it's the inside story of somebody who actually worked there.
But also when you look online and you look for posters similar to this, they're not quite the same.
No.
They're not the same versions. It's like these are the drafts, so these would have just been unseen. They would have been considered
That's right.
not useful.
Yeah,
Probably a waste of time.
Yeah, I imagine they were perhaps given a photograph or a sketch, and then they would do this is how it worked, the artist, like my father and the other artists, would do the design, or they'd have the design there in front of them, and they'd look at it through a mirror. And then looking at that image in a mirror, then draw it out on the stone scheme. So it came
Many
out.
people forget that when you put something down to collect a print this way and peel it off, it comes back the other way around. So you're not even getting the likeness of the person, you're going backwards.
They would actually be drawing it backwards, looking at the thing, and then it would be printed offset, which is offset lithography, the right way round in black and white, and then the colours added.
My favourite thing is seeing how much someone that really didn't know about art and processes and how technical it can be, and you even thought that this kind of thing isn't done now, but it is. And like one of my favourite Japanese artists, Yoshitaka Amano, he does lithography, and so I see it in Japan. These things still exist. These things are being kept alive. They're not as common, of course, but they're around.
But it's kept as an art, like Kendall is saying, but as an industry it's gone, hasn't it?
I guess it depends what countries you're in, because I'm sure some countries
still have that
how
system.
they're making it, because there's a lot of places that just aren't using digital things as much, because that's not what they're like. These old machines have to go somewhere eventually. They have to get recycled somehow, and not all countries are developed like the ones that we're in. So I think we'd be quite surprised at things we might find around the world. So everybody, there was also a radio show that you'll be able to catch up with on BBC Radio Sounds if you want to see that earlier. It's about 10 minutes of us talking about a few things. And this will be available to watch. If you're watching it not right now, then you're watching it when it's available for everybody. So please share this story with people that you think might be interested in cinema history, in human interest, for your father, for us, or anything.
Art and design.
And art and design. People, I mean, adults these days were born this side of the millennium. They've only known the internet. Show them what came before. I hope you've really enjoyed our story. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Gob?
Let me think. One comment from somebody. I think it was the artist who came down to our first exhibition, the one-show artist. Yeah. And he said that people can't do this anymore. Artists have taken this up this skill, if you like, to do it, as Kendall says, on the stone lithography. But what he did took years of experience as well as that apprenticeship, because he had to do it one-off, just one time he had to get it right. So he had to draw these figures as 5 foot by 3 foot, sometimes much larger than life, and get everything right basically the first time, because the crayon on the stone was difficult to get off, so they'd have to put it through the marbles,
waxy,
or put acid on it. And so people have got the skills now and the talent, but they haven't got that training experience.
In a computer age, people are, you erase things much more. That's why when I make art in my sketchbook or anywhere, it was like, if no one's paying me for it, then I will always use pen or pencil crayon, because you can't erase it. And I like that. What happens, happens. There are, people would surprise you around the world, Goff. I see where he's coming from, and art has evolved a lot. But if I were to say one of the main reasons that people can't do this anymore is because people just don't invest in art in the same way. And there isn't enough space, because there's so many of us in the world now, so there's not space to have big factories for inconvenient things. But I would like to share one thing I think is fascinating and lovely about Japan and Japanese marketing. They're still using hand-drawn graphic designs of all kinds of styles as their lead top manufacturers advertising. I think it's great, because here in the UK everything's kind of shiny now, everything's computerized. So I think around the world you would be quite surprised. I see where he's coming from. And of course it doesn't take away from how skilled your dad is, but what I'm getting from that is people don't realise how much we do. Us artists do so much work. So yeah, if you see someone working hard on something, even if you think it's a little bit too much money, even just think about how much more it matters that the person made it. And like this necklace I'm wearing, right? Someone, there's no way to make that by machine. Someone has handmade that. I was like, take my money. I need this thing to stay in my life for as long as possible to be appreciated. We're in this world of just taking as many things as we can, printing them off as many times as we like. So just, take a moment to show gratitude for how that got made. And try and appreciate it, I think. Yeah. Thanks so much, God. So nice to see you.
It's been a long time. It's
been a long time. Yeah. So thank you very much, everybody. We're going to sign out. Thanks to those of you that did stay with us, and to those of you that are watching later. I understand. I hope you'll join me in 4.5 hours for my street art tour. We're going to go out in the big wide world. There's not been too many people watching these, so I hope you'll catch up. It seems about 70 odd people will watch in the future. So if you want lives to keep happening, then join the lives, or else I'm not going to think I'm meant to be here doing it. Please check out buymeacoffee.com/MissKendalJames. And if you go to linktr.ee/MissKendalJames, the first button is a how to buy the Big Head Man book. So fill in the little form and I'll put you in touch with either myself, but probably Goff, because you do volunteer work these days. I'm a bit busy.
You do the online work.
I'll do the admin, you do the labour. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Goodbye from us.
Thank you.
Oh, wait. Any questions? There's only a few of you, but I'll just, if you've got a question, false goodbye. Hello, welcome, everybody. Any questions? If you're not there, we'll go. Let me see. Nope. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye. I'll see you.
Oh, right.
1 sec.